Hello and good evening. I want to welcome everyone who is joining our virtual town hall tonight. I am Jessica Bush, aide for Supervisor Andrea Bailey of the Potomac District. Supervisor Bailey has a wonderful panel assembled tonight. After a brief introduction video, the next voice you will hear will be that of the Honorable Andrea Bailey. Hola y muy buenas tardes. Quiero darle las bienvenidas a todos que nos acompañan en nuestro ayuntamiento virtual en esta noche. Mi nombre es Jessica Bush, ayudante de la supervisora Andrea Bailey, del distrito del Potomac. Supervisora Bailey tiene en esta noche un panel en asamblado. Después de un breve video de introducción, la siguiente voz que escucharás será de la honorable Andrea Bailey. Gracias. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's a great pleasure to have you with us this evening. I'm Supervisor Andrea Bailey. I'm your supervisor in the Potomac District on the Board of County Supervisors here in beautiful, wonderful Prince William County. I'm excited about this evening because it is going to give us an opportunity to talk about something that is very valuable to the future of our country as well as our county. This evening, I'll be joined by the president of Northern Virginia Community College, Dr. Kress. Taikisha will be with me, Taikisha Myrick, who is the associate director for government affairs at the college, at Northern Virginia Community College, and the provost for the Woodbridge chapter, Dr. Sam Hill. I'm excited to have also with me, hi, Dr. Kress, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. Hi, Taikisha, welcome. I'm excited to have y'all. We're also going to be joined by the commander of the base of the Quantico Marine Corps base here in my district, Colonel Bentley. Colonel Bentley and I have an extreme commitment and dedication to this community. And so I'm very excited that he's decided to join us. Colonel, welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. So I normally I have questions prepared and I have everything in front of me, but this is your show. I wanted to provide a platform for all of you to talk about the wonderful things that you're doing in our community and how you've partnered together to make it even better for our Marines and for our community. And so without further ado, I'm going to start with you, Dr. Kress, introducing yourself and telling us about the wonderful program that we've had an opportunity to explore about in the past month.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Supervisor Bailey. And thank you to everyone who's tuning into this live stream. I want to talk with you a little bit about a program that actually is very time sensitive. So I'm going to cough for just a second. You caught me with a head cold today. We have a program at NOVA, which is funded by the state through the CARES Act dollars that's called Re-Employing Virginians, REV or REV for short. And the REV program is really designed for individuals who have become unemployed because of the pandemic. So if you've lost a full-time job, if you're receiving unemployment insurance, REV is the program for you. If you've lost a full-time job and you're employed part-time, making less than $15 an hour, REV is the program for you. But REV does end December 14th. So the REV program provides you with a tuition voucher as a part-time student, as a full-time student, or as a student in an industry program we call Fast Forward, to take courses that would lead directly to your new career. Those courses are in a set of limited programs, And I'm going to give you this email address several times tonight. You can email NovaRev, N-O-V-A-R-E-V, NovaRev at nvcc.edu, at nvcc.edu at any point, and you'll be connected to somebody who can tell you a little bit more about the program. But the key is that the program will cover your tuition for spring semester in one of these career path programs, including information technology, entry-level healthcare programs, early childhood development, and administration of justice. So if you're interested in finding a new career because you've lost your job and you're currently receiving unemployment insurance, or you've lost a full-time job and you are now in part-time employment at $15 an hour or less, Rev can help you by providing your tuition for spring semester. But again, the deadline is December 14th. So we want to connect you to this program as quickly as possible. And that again is Reemploying Virginians, and it's called Rev. So that's one of the programs that I wanted to talk about tonight.
So I really enjoyed when you came and you brought this program to our attention. So I want to talk a little bit more in depth about the creation and how it got started and the possibilities thereof as we move forward. So Taikisha, if you would please, tell us a little bit more about the creation and what you're trying to achieve.
Can you hear me? Can you?
Yes.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you, because it was saying my mic was. So the governor, as Dr. Kress indicated, the governor really wanted to assist our unemployed. We have a lot of jobs, careers here in the Northern Virginia area that are middle skilled professions. They don't necessarily require a bachelor's degree, but they do need skilled laborers. And here in this area, there are many jobs, especially those IT jobs, that are going unfulfilled. And Northern Virginia Community College, we provide that opportunity. The governor, again, he had a program that he allocated earlier this year that prior to COVID that we actually wanted to support. His goal was to support, again, those middle skilled opportunities. And so Rev is that way for to introduce everybody to that community, to us, that community college here on the Hill. But even after Rev expires on December 14th, we are still here at Nova to support you. These programs are not going anywhere. The Rev is a great opportunity, as Dr. Kress indicated, for tuition and fees, but we have all types of resources that can help with those programs. The Fast Forward program, which is through our workforce, those certificate programs, we have what we call Fast Forward grants that pay up to a third of the program. We also have what we called a FANTIC grant that's based on income that can actually support that Fast Forward grant. Those grants can be combined. And then we also have a scholarship, which is called Virginia Ready, which can provide $1,000 to students. So Rev is the opportunity to introduce those programs to our community. Again, any questions about Rev, NovaRev at nvcc.edu. But after Rev, we're here, and we want to make sure that the community understands that we are here to support you, and we have programs here to help you regain employment or to just reskill yourselves.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know we are being joined by Dr. Sam Hill, and I wanted to bring him forward also. Dr. Hill is the provost for the Woodbridge campus here in Prince William County, and a wonderful stakeholder in our community that continually contributes to us, not just from an educational standpoint, but just from a community standpoint. And so, Dr. Hill, I wanted you to have an opportunity for folks to, again, see who you are. Everybody knows who you are, but also to offer just more of an illumination of what the Woodbridge chapter has to offer for our community. Dr. Hill, you're muted.
Okay, I'll start all over again. Thank you, Supervisor Bailey, for giving us this opportunity. And I'd like to reiterate the time-sensitive nature of this tremendous program. December 14th is actually next Monday. And as Mrs. Myrick said, that I would also like to emphasize that even if you miss the deadline, still reach out to us, because there are other opportunities to help people become retrained and enter enter the workforce. The Woodbridge campus is an integral part of supporting workforce training in the eastern end of Prince William County. And the Potomac District is adjacent to the Neabsco District, where the campus is located. But we also have the Manassas campus that is in the western end of the county. And everything you hear tonight applies to both campuses, and actually all campuses and all programs across Northern Virginia Community College. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. And one of the hallmarks of our community is Northern Virginia Community College, and you have educated, molded, and created such a wealth of resurgence, if you will, students that have decided not to leave home, but to get their education here locally, who want to stay home and contribute back to our community. And so we are so grateful that we have Northern Virginia Community College in our community. Another relationship that I've built over the year that I've been seated here in Potomac is a great relationship with the Marine Corps. I am a Marine Corps wife. I'm proud to say that. And the Marine Corps has offered me and my family such a wealth of embracing and learning how to live with different cultures, diverse cultures, but also how to appreciate building relationships outside of the military with the surrounding communities. And so, in sitting in the seat, I had the great opportunity, excuse me, of meeting a gentleman that he's not just a Marine, but he was born and bred here in Virginia, and he has invested his life, education, and service to the Marine Corps, but also to this community. And so I'm proud to call him a friend and a partner here in our community, and that is Colonel Bentley. Colonel Bentley, I'm so glad that you joined us tonight. Talk to us about the Marine now, the Marine to come, and how you see this program partnering with the Marine Corps University.
Yes, ma'am. I mean, I think everyone recognizes the importance of education in particular, but certainly this, and I hate to put it that way because I'm starting to sound a little over 50, just like I am, but they demand, I'll say, services in a different way than maybe what we're used to. In fact, we're having this conversation today concerning the
Okay. We're having a few difficulties. I know the Colonel will come back in. But we had an opportunity to meet together, the four of us, at a meeting in my office, social distancing, of course, to talk about this partnership within the military community and Northern Virginia Community College. And it was such a robust, enriched conversation. And so, Ms. Myrick, if you would please just tell us a little bit about that conversation and what was born out of that. You're still muted.
What we realized is that, of course, we all can do more, and we want to do more. And the mission of both is to serve our community. And what we want to look forward to is aligning things that we can do at NOVA to make it a little easier for Marines and their families to join us. Our goal, again, we are the community college. There's a saying that if you want to see how great your community is, look at that community college. And so from those conversations, we talked about possibly aligning coursework that Marines take when they're in in that journey, and seeing whether or not that coursework can actually map to credit courses at Nova. If a marine math course could map to a Nova math course, and the enlisted actually come into Nova, utilizing their skills and receiving credit for that. I think that's huge for the community. The skills that you gain in higher ed, they don't always necessarily align. And so here at Nova, we want to take a look at that. We want to see how we can serve you all better with that.
Colonel, I think you are. Colonel Bentley, can you hear me? Colonel? I think he's there. Are you muted, sir? Can you hear me, sir? You're smiling. I know you hear me. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm broken just a little bit, but
that's okay. That's all right.
I caught most of that, and I absolutely concur that I think.
Okay, you are.
I must be getting a little bit of a
delay.
generation
You just
absolutely leaps and bounds ahead of where we are. Digital. And I would just say we need to match our education abilities to that generation. So just like what was just expressed in terms of matching our Marine Corps required to way to an associate's degree and education, I think is hugely important.
I totally agree with you, sir. I think it is extremely important when a man or woman decides to support their country by giving their life. We should support them in every way that we possibly can. And so I've seen how these types of programs can work. I told Dr. Hill that I was formerly an instructor at Coastal Carolina Community College. And I know that he has a partnership and a relationship there as well. So Dr. Kress, if you can kind of illuminate for our audience, how are those partnerships important when you thoroughly immerse yourself in the community with a variance of programs, not just traditional programs, but programs that support the needs of certain targeted areas? Explain to us, how does that look and why that's important?
Absolutely. And I'll go back to something that Mrs. Myrick was talking about. And it's really that the community college reflects the community. And we are as strong as our ability to serve our community. So when you look at NOVA, for example, 15% of our students are veterans. The service, and we want to honor that service of the students who come to us, is incredibly important. And we want to make sure that we're giving them credit for what they might have learned during their military service. So in fact, we have a whole series of MOS mapped to our curriculum. So if somebody completed a specific duty, then we would be able to give them credit for that. So that's just one example. When we look at the other programs that we offer that would be of benefit to our community, for example, we know that a number of individuals, whether they're affiliated with the basic Quantico or they're just in the Prince William County area, have children, and they're concerned about coming to college because childcare is an issue, especially post-pandemic, and we're all hoping for that moment. NOVA now has a grant that will help them offset the cost of their childcare when they come to NOVA to begin that next career, a new career, or a first career. Those programs are also vary in length. So students may come to us for a 1-year certificate. They may come to us for a 2-year degree that then they can carry on to a transfer to Mason. So it is that full integration with the needs that our community members bring to us. And I'll just also highlight 2 other partnerships that NOVA has, one specifically with Quantico and another with an organization that'll be located at Quantico. NOVA now I think we're going into our 3rd year of a partnership with the Marines on a program around machine intelligence and artificial intelligence and data analytics. And that is a partnership with the Marine Corps and with Amazon Web Services. And then we are now part of the new U.S. Naval Community College. We'll be offering our cybersecurity degree through the U.S. Naval Community College, which is a new entity that the Navy has brought forward to serve the maritime community. And that includes not just active duty personnel, but also spouses and dependents, that they'll have this new opportunity to engage in higher education. I want to go back to what the Colonel was saying, which is that the world is changing around us, and the skill sets that we all need to have are really getting a little higher and a little higher every single year. And that includes especially those IT skills. And so NOVA is here and ready to partner with individuals. And before I stop talking, the one thing I want to mention is for everyone, we talked about REV, but please remember that now is the moment for anyone considering coming to NOVA, or quite frankly, going to any college or university, to complete the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. It is available online, FAFSA. It is, I always think of it as the keys to the kingdom. Anyone who's thinking of going to higher education needs to complete the FAFSA to access any sort of federal aid, and that includes grants, not just loans, but those Pell Grants that are so valuable because they help students pay for their education without going into debt. So please, if there's one thing that you take away from tonight's discussion that's beyond REV, which has a December 14th deadline, is that now is the moment to complete the FAFSA. And if you need assistance, again, reach out to NOVA. We would love for you to come to NOVA with your FAFSA dollars, but even if you don't, we're here to help you.
I'm glad you mentioned about the FAFSA. I am a student of FAFSA. When I first went away to college, my mom had to complete that application for me in order for me to complete my education. We had a grant called the BEOG grant that you may or may not even have a fathom in your mind about. It is now called the Pell Grant. And so, yes. And so I totally agree with you when it comes to financial support. We can't let anything stop us. There's always an opportunity and an avenue for us to complete our education. But it's something that the Colonel Bentley, you mentioned to us in our meeting before, that you said you never thought you would have a concern in the Marine Corps as it applies to daycare. I remember you saying that in terms of your Marines. And so how can this program partner with your Marines, your young married Marines, as it relates, or even your seasoned Marines, as it relates to daycare? I think that's a great partnership as well.
Yes, ma'am. I've switched platforms here, so hopefully this one will hold a little bit better. So, I mean, we have a combination of, quite the variety of married Marines with dependent children, unmarried Marines, divorced Marines, et cetera. So the flexibility in the schedule that I think in particular community college and NOVA provides, you can handle certain things at home that you're just not going to be able to handle having to travel to class. So the flexibility of the scheduling of the community college curriculum, I think, is hugely important. And whether that's in compressed schedules that we've seen with other programs, flexibility, and then in particular, professors understanding that at times the Marines might even be disconnected if they're deployed for extended periods of time, and being able to drop back in. And it's not a factor of not doing the work. It's a factor of you just may not have access to a computer, or your job requirements are, I don't want to say overwhelming, but are your focus of effort. And then when you're able to come back and rebalance, then that flexibility that the professors and the community college aspect provide, I think, is hugely important. I do want to point out, I think he's been kicked off a couple times, but Sergeant Major Adams is my senior enlisted advisor, is also on here and working towards his degree. So it's one of those that I think we have a perfect confluence of individuals in different places, to include my former Sergeant Major is now over at Marine Corps University and can talk to the different challenges he has had over the years of trying to complete his degree. And then obviously a current potential student in Sergeant Major Adams. So I'll pause there for just a minute.
Thank you, sir. I was just about to say that the wonderful thing about you being at the helm of command at this time is I've noticed that you walk the walk and you talk the talk. You do what you say you're going to do. And the most impressive thing that happened for all of us, I'm sure, is when you brought that young Marine with you to our meeting to observe the conversation, but he took it all in because he has a future with the Marine Corps. And so you were role modeling as you were having a meeting to invite him in to be a part of what you saw in him as his future. And I think that's great leadership. That's great leadership. I want to, while I have you, I want to talk a little bit more about the Marine Corps University and how it has partnered, not just with the REV program, but how it's partnered in another venue with Nova Community College. Tell us a little bit about that, sir.
So we actually have 3 different, I'll say, institutions aboard Quantico right now that are doing the different partnerships. And one of the conversations that I've asked Sergeant Major Adams to have is how do we capitalize on the expertise and energy that we have between the Marine Corps University, who has what is really 5, I'll say, colleges underneath it, to include our staff NCO, staff non-commissioned officer academy, as well as all of our distance learning for both officers and enlisted. And then our Marine Corps War College, which we consider our top level school or master's conferring institution, as well as partnership at the command and staff, which is more for our majors, and then our expeditionary warfare school. So there's a great span of control that Marine Corps University has. And then, ma'am, as you've already highlighted, our Naval Community College coming online, very focused on the technical MOSs, but at the same time, I think already Nova is seeing, the other 80% of the Marine Corps who are non-technical, the opportunity there to capitalize on that audience and then provide those partnerships with the various schools to enable them to continue on, as well as our volunteer education center, who really mirrors all of the other installations across the Marine Corps and really the other armed services, in that that's how a junior Marine will normally walk in, which I think is a little dated, but walk in, have a conversation as to what their occupational specialty is, how that translates to college credits, and then what the path might be for him or her to pursue an associate's degree or higher degree. But that VEC is what is available aboard every installation, where right now Quantico is unique in that we have both the Marine Corps University and the Naval Community College. So one of the questions that I've asked is, how do we take the model and be able to translate across the United States, because obviously each state is accredited by a different organization, as well as our forward deployed Marines, who very honestly at times when you're forward deployed, you have all kinds of time on your hand depending on what you're doing. And I took my box of videotapes aboard ship in 1997. I used to get up before all my roommates and watch my videotapes for an hour, and then take my notes and send my assignments in via Blue Mail back to my instructor. And that's actually how I started my master's program in 1997. So I think some of the other programs, like I do know University of Maryland Global Campus has a very active program. And ma'am, I think I told you my grandfather actually helped start that program. So that's one that is kind of near and dear to my heart. No, nothing against Nova. My daughter went to Nova, so I kind of have it all over the place in terms of my involvement. But I think I am in a perfect position for my last 7 months here, both our linkage external to you in particular, Supervisor Bailey, and then ma'am, Dr. Kress up at Nova, to be able to at least begin to build the program so that the synergy is there. And as Colonel Mike Brooks comes in and takes over from me, he and Sergeant Major Adams can continue to move that program forward. I just got to say, sir, that Cowboys thing is very distracting to me. You know, I'm actually torn myself away from the Washington football team. You know, getting their rear end kicked right now by the Steelers. But I just wanted to highlight that to you. Sorry.
Sorry about that. Focus
Did
on
you
the
hear that,
Saints.
Doctor?
Yeah, sorry about that. Focus on the Saints logo in the background. That's my wife's team. But I'd like to pick on first of all, what's a videotape? You you don't need. But talking about the deployed Marines, and hopefully there are a lot of Marines in the audience. We realize that your time is short at Quantico, and it may be too short to complete a degree. But what the Commonwealth of Virginia has done to support Marines, they have put in place a special tuition rate where, and when you're not stationed at Quantico or you're stationed outside of the Commonwealth, you can still take courses at Nova and at other community colleges in the Commonwealth at the in-state rate, which is tied to the tuition reimbursement rate. So it makes it very affordable, even after you leave the Commonwealth, to continue your education and complete that degree going through our Nova Online aspect of the college.
Yeah. So Dr. Hill, I'm glad you talked about that, because one of the things that I was going to ask you was, I want you to tell the community about the wonderful, and this is something that I mentioned to Dr. Kress when I first met her in January. Talk to us about the vast and wonderful changes that have come about from inception of when you first hit the campus up until now, because there's been a lot of growth. There's been a lot of expansion. There's been a lot of community building. Just give the audience a view of that through your eyes.
Thank you. And let me focus again, since we're with our audience is the Quantico and Marines. The Dr. Kress mentioned this, and so did Mrs. Myrick. The partnership with the Marine Corps has really grown. And as we discussed in the meeting that we had at your office the week before Thanksgiving, one of the mistakes that we've made at Quantico in the Volunteer Education Center is that we've essentially recycled courses. In other words, offering the same sequence of courses. So we weren't offering courses in a way that an enlisted Marine could complete an associate's degree during their time while they were stationed at Quantico. We are looking to put a program in place where that will happen starting in the fall. I also want to go back to what was mentioned about looking at the training that the Marines get, very good and valuable training that they get, and mapping that to coursework at Nova. We have done that with 10 MOSs, and I wish I could remember the number of the MOSs, but they are in the IT area. And if there are Marines, and I hope there are Marines in the audience, I want you to hear this. These are in the IT area, 10 MOSs. They're in the 2600 series of MOSs. And depending on which one you get, you can earn up to 36 college credits towards an associate's degree. That's putting you almost halfway towards your associate's degree based on the training and education you've received as a Marine. It's putting you halfway towards an associate's degree, depending on your MOS. So that's one of the nice partnerships that we have established with the Marine Corps and NOVA. And we are open to looking at other MOSs that align with degrees that we offer at NOVA. One of the areas that we've been asked is looking at, I mentioned this for the colonel's benefit, is GIS, because that's a growing area in the Marines, for the Marines. And also logistics has been another area that's been mentioned. So we'd welcome the opportunity to look at those areas and see how we can map the training that the Marines get to those degrees.
Dr. Hill, I want to ask something that is very near and dear to my heart that I personally experienced being a Marine Corps wife, and that is I started my college career at the University of Missouri early on, and I got married and I hadn't finished my degree. And so as a military spouse, it took me a little bit longer than usual to finish that degree. And so if you could, please speak to the benefit for the military spouse. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a female spouse. It could be a male spouse. So please speak to that and the benefit from a military perspective. And
I'm assuming that.
Yeah,
that was for me.
Please.
Yep. No. So, on average, military member will conduct a permanent change of station normally at a maximum of every 3 years. And depending on what they're doing, that can be as short as 1 year. And so that makes it very difficult for a spouse to either maintain employment or a degree track if you're moving from state to state, whether they change residency or whether they change programs. So, I mean, even in the first enlistment of 4 years, the individual will go to boot camp and then show up to their first duty station. And if they're in one of our high demand, low density military occupational specialties, they could actually be asked to move twice, even in that 3 year period. And so that continuity of education is extremely important from that perspective, to allow that spouse, if they enter in to some sort of education program, to be able to continue that unbroken.
And that's so valuable for the family as well, in terms of that continuity and for the future of the family. Let's move past graduation with the program, because I'm sure once you get into it, you'll be so excited and saturated in the program. Your desire and determination will be, of course, to complete it. But let's get to graduation and talk about job opportunities and job listings that you can look forward to for the Marine that is still active duty, but also the Marine, as Colonel Bentley, you've said, that has retired and they want to stay in the area and they have this degree. How does that look from the perspective of the community college and the Marine Corps? And Ms. Myrick, I'm going to ask you that question.
I'll back up just one minute. I want to go back to something that Dr. Kress said about the FAFSA and the importance of that, because there's something that I want us to highlight about what NOVA does especially well. A lot of time we think about credits in the academic piece, but there is a community of resources that we have there. And so we talk about tutoring. You can receive tutoring at NOVA 24/7. You can have face-to-face tutoring. You can do tutoring online. When you talk about the FAFSA, FAFSA.gov, that FAFSA $6,345 for the academic year. I always encourage our military families to apply for FAFSA because you are eligible for a Pell Grant regardless if you receive full tuition benefits. That is the only federal resource that you are able to receive with full tuition benefits. Anything else that comes through, they will deduct. So that's very important, and that's very important for our spouses because those resources are there. The last thing I'll say about that, and then I will answer that question, is if you are in a situation this year and your income changed, Don't worry about what was filed on your FAFSA this last year or the current year. At the institution, we have the ability to do what's called a professional judgment. We will take your situation into consideration and we can make changes to your FAFSA. So again, that's an important piece because often we talk about tuition and fees, but on average, the cost to go to college exceeds tuition and fees. It's driving back and forth to campus. Even if you're going online, it's purchasing a laptop, it's having Wi-Fi in your house, it's all of those non-academic components, it's textbooks that people don't necessarily think about. But once you leave Nova, while you're in Nova, we have career services. And the design of career services is to assist you to make sure that when it's time for you to graduate, that you have opportunities aligned. One of the great things about Nova, and when I think about the Woodbridge campus specifically, a lot of our faculty inside that classroom are former military. And so what I love about the way that they interact with the students is that they give them real life scenarios. They teach them what the employer wants, not necessarily the academic piece, but they align that. And they're able to give them hands-on experience so that when they do walk into the interview and they are competing against someone who very well may have more education, meaning they may have a bachelor's degree and you may have the associate's degree, that skill set, a lot of employers, they're actually looking at what you're able to do, not what you know. And so we really work closely with our students in that aspect. Again, we have career services. We have surveys that we help students. We have opportunities. I did it every year I was there. We have opportunities to do mock interviews with students where you come in, you dress, you do the interview with us. We rate you, we give you feedback because we want to prepare you for those next steps. So and then on our workforce side, we are constantly looking at that labor market research. So when you are selecting a program, you can actually go out and see this is the opportunity. These are the opportunities that are in the area, because there oftentimes students are pursuing education, but that opportunity, that jobs are not specifically in this area. And so we try to make sure we're aligning students so that you know early on, this job is here in this area. And if you pursue this degree, here are the companies that are actually hiring.
Yeah. So Colonel Bentley, one of the things that, and we've had such great conversations about community partnerships and what that looks like and being able to usher that partnership onto your successor. One of the things, sir, that I've really been concentrating on from our very first meeting is making sure that the Marine has an option once he or she retires to even stay in the community until they decide if they want to go back home to another state or if they want to stay here with friends, that we have housing, workable housing here for them or homes here for them where they can do that as well as finish their education. And so, sir, I want you to know that I do hear you. I do hear you, and I've been very much concentrating on that. So tell me what that looks like for the future of Quantico and the transition of that, because a lot of people don't really understand that kind of transition and the importance of that as it relates to skill set and getting into the job market.
Yes, ma'am. So I have a female corporal who works for me very closely and was actually having this conversation with her today. So she has some medical issues that she's dealing with, but her end of active service is 13 months from now. And she's an administrative clerk. She's very diligent. She's very young. I would say, I think she's 21. One of my critiques of my transition readiness seminar is we go through a week long of congressionally mandated programs and counseling, which now is supposed to start at least a year out from that end of active service date. So an 18-year-old comes in, goes through their first year of training, and are already in the window of having to look at getting out within the next 2 to 3 years. I don't feel like our transition readiness program connects with the surrounding communities well enough to where, we seem to get very insulated, and that's one of the very negative aspects of COVID, I think, obviously beyond the health concerns and all the things we're dealing with. But folks seem to be very insulated and not willing to go outside their own little bubbles. And so I've noticed the Marines are staying on base. I actually just finished an Inspector General inspection, and I have a number of the surveys. And one of them is that the command is not as involved in the after hours, which I've highlighted. Maybe you want to be careful about, because I don't think you want me visiting you after hours every day, but I certainly have some ideas. How do I help the young Marine, 18, 19 years old, start looking at the education that's available to them, and then linking that to, hey, I really love Virginia. I want to stay around here. So I need a job and I need a place to live. And of course, we all know that the further up you go 95, the more expensive it gets. And Fredericksburg can have a similar issue, but somewhere between, in particular, the western side of 95 of Prince William County and Stafford County, you can certainly remain reasonably priced, at least for now. But you're going to have to be on the a little bit to the right in terms of those entry-level jobs to be able to afford housing. So she and her spouse, I think, are in a pretty good position and already want to stay. So I might have a good test case for you as to how we match them up with what I've noticed some of the building going on in Dumfries, which are more apartment oriented, and I would say are likely reasonably within their price range, as well as accessibility to a job that matches up with her skill set. But I don't feel like my program in particular right now is linked enough to the jobs available. In fact, I'm trying to remember, it's been probably over a year, but we had a community event up at George Mason's southern campus. And I remember running into a number of business leaders who were saying, I needed truck drivers, I needed administrative clerks. And I said, well, do you come to our job fair? And they said, what job fair? And so it was just another indicator to me that our linkages just are not there yet, to make sure our transitioning folks know what jobs are available to them. And then we link that up with affordable housing, and now you have the perfect combination.
That's beautifully said. I totally agree with you. And that is a evergreen and growing opportunity for us locally as well. So I'm committed to making sure, and that speaks to communication as well. So Dr. Kress, if you could please expound and expand for us about those kinds of opportunities as it relates to communication, and how the community college environment has expanded and grown into a level of service that is not traditional. I think that's important, because a lot of times we get stuck in our heads about how things are and were, but there's such an opportunity when you talk about that partnership.
Absolutely. And so let me just bring it into very real terms. And I want to go back to something that Provost Hill mentioned. And he talked about the number of credits that individuals could get for their MOSs. And he mentioned some credit levels. And what I want people to hear is that there is a dollar value attached to that. So when he talks about somebody getting 30 credit hours, 38 credit hours, transferred into Nova for their MOSs, that's essentially worth $6,000, $7,000. So I want people to hear that's an automatic scholarship. So when you're talking, when the colonel's talking about this young woman leaving his office, understanding that you can get credit for prior learning, even if it's not covered by an MOS. That Nova, when we talk about these integrated services and serving our community, we'll sit down, and there are various challenge exams and various ways that individuals can get credit, college credit, for prior experiences. So again, that's accelerating their college journey. That's helping to make the college journey much more affordable. I also want anyone who's a parent of someone in high school to really think about going to the high school virtually and asking about if you're not already involved in dual enrollment. So we have a very robust program of dual enrollment throughout Prince William County, and students who are then taking those college level courses within high school. So I want you to hear this very carefully, get those college courses for free. So that is no cost college. And those are college credits that actually, unlike AP or anything else, you don't have to take a test at the end. This is an actual college level course that you're enrolled in. And those credits then would transfer onto NOVA or to any institution, right? So we're looking at acceleration, we're looking at affordability, we're also looking at accessibility, right? So when we talk about these programs that we offer, and Mrs. Myrick was talking about tutoring available 24/7, also know that in addition to career counseling, and we have resume building services, we have those interview skills that she mentioned. We also have programs in which students earn while they learn. We have apprenticeship programs. In fact, NOVA really created the IT apprenticeship with Amazon Web Services. We've expanded that in apprenticeship now beyond Amazon Web Services to IT startups like Alarm.com, to AT&T. So there is the opportunity for individuals who come into NOVA to be employed by a local business and then be able to go to school at the same time and earn a living wage, a sustaining wage. We also have a financial stability service so that we have individuals who can work with students who might be in financially difficult situations, help them apply for SNAP benefits if they need them, help them understand what housing benefits are available to them. So we have, again, what we call single stop. It's easy to remember, it's one place to stop. And we have counselors who are available virtually, who can work with students who might need those additional services. And then given the audience that we're talking to tonight, we have a full complement of veteran services so that individuals have specialized counselors who can work directly with them, with their veterans benefits, with their GI benefits, to make sure that we all know what program they're part of, what that covers. We know the rules of the road. And then the last thing I want to mention, actually two last things, given some of the discussion about spouses and dependents, know that NOVA stands ready to work with you and your transcripts. So that if you have transcripts from 3 or 4 different institutions, NOVA has transfer counselors and transcript analyses, folks who can sit down and look at the transcript and help you connect that to what those courses would be at NOVA, so that again, you can accelerate your journey going forward. So just know that all of those benefits are there to NOVA students. We don't charge you anything extra for them either. So please understand that, right? This is what happens when you're a NOVA student. These services are here for you.
I have to say that you're very user-friendly. And I know that I'm dating myself a little bit when I use that terminology, but you're very user-friendly. And I will say that as a community leader and now as your supervisor, I've had the experience of conducting voter registration at Nova Community College. I've had the experience of presenting at Nova Community College, and just building those kinds of relationships for the holistic part of the student. And so I feel very secure that Colonel Bentley, the Marines, will be very much, it'll be a user-friendly experience for them as well. So we're coming up on the end of the hour, but I really want to offer you the opportunity to just give us some final comments from all of you about this wonderful partnership that is going to go forward, that we've had an opportunity to birth out of the Quantico base. That is, Colonel Bentley, that's where I started, and that's why I guess my husband says we ain't going anywhere. We're going to stay here. So if you would, each one of you, talk to me with your closing remarks about the REV program. Colonel Bentley, please.
Yes, ma'am. I just have to say again, I think in my far earlier comments, to me, this is a different generation, and not lazy by any means, but certainly pushing us to be efficient and effective in the programs that we offer. And I think the linkage that we've been talking about in terms of with the community and making things available, of course, if you get comfortable and you feel like you're part of the community, then it's going to be that much more attractive for our upwards of 1,000 Marines that turn over every year and may want to remain in the Virginia area. Making things affordable and then accessible and flexible to their schedules is something that I've experienced over now almost 30 years. And when it's done in that manner, then of course people want to take advantage of it. I think everyone wants to move forward, but sometimes life and family can get in the way. So the flexibility and adaptability of the program, it's very exciting to see what we're doing here, and then to be able to link all of that with the required training. And it's not going to be perfect, but it will go such a long way to giving Marines credit for things they're already doing. Some of those life experiences that I think a 22-year-old, even after 4 years at Quantico, is that much further down the road than one who has gone to college maybe, and that's their only experience. How do we best capitalize on those experiences, give them the credit they deserve, make it affordable for them, and then give them the pathway to a 4-year degree or a certificate program, as we talked about with the Amazon piece or the Microsoft piece. We have that partnership aboard base also. How do we give them the most opportunity to continue to progress and stay linked with the community? And ma'am, I just want to say in my closing comments, thank you for your energy on all of this. I think this is really the kind of momentum that I'd like to be able to see and hand off to my successor 7 months from now. So thank you.
My pleasure. Dr. Kress, please.
Sure, and I'll pick up where the Colonel ended and just thank you for this incredible opportunity and for your leadership and for your care about the community. I like to say that NOVA is your nearby, outstanding, and very affordable and accessible option. And that has never been more true than right now. I just want to put out again the time-sensitive deadline. If anyone's interested in the REV program, the Reemploying Virginians program, the timeline on that is December 14th. But as we all of us have said this evening, we are here for you way past December 14th, and we can make it affordable and accessible for you to come to NOVA. I was in a discussion the other day where one of our local economic development leads said that there are more than 40,000 jobs available right now in Northern Virginia. The vast majority of those are really in 3 basic areas, right? They're in IT, they're in healthcare, and they're in the trades. And all of those fields are available at the Woodbridge campus. You can come in as an entry-level CNA through the Fast Forward program. You can enter into heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and you can certainly enter into IT and cybersecurity. So please make yourself available at NOVA, which is, quite frankly, one of the nation's top community colleges, right in your own backyard. We are here waiting for you. So we hope to see you in the spring semester. Thank you again.
Dr. Hill.
Thank you, Supervisor Bailey. And I'll also add my thanks and appreciation for bringing us together and your leadership in making this happen. I want to say to the Colonel, one of the notes that I made from what he said was reaching out to the Marines and letting them know about career opportunities. One of my takeaways from my time together, it boils down to communications. We offer several career and job fairs on our campuses. And I'll commit that the Woodbridge campus will reach out to Quantico to make them aware of these opportunities so you can share that information with your Marines. Your Marines are an asset to our community, and we want to do whatever we can to entice them to stay and make Prince William County home. And I want to put another twist on the REV deadline. It's December 14th, and that is next Monday. Supervisor Bailey, thanks for bringing us together and making this possible.
It's absolutely my pleasure, sir. And Director Myrick, please close us out.
So much. Supervisor Bailey. This is a hard group to actually follow. But I will say, as serving as the lead of the REV program, it started on October 30th, and NOVA's received over 9,000 inquiry requests from that day. And it's been very humbling, and it has reminded me that often life happens. Nobody saw COVID occurring. Life happens sometimes at the most inopportune time. So I challenge everyone, whatever you've been thinking about doing, whatever you've said you don't have time to do, the things that you feel like you should do, I encourage you to do that. NOVA is here for you. The Marine Corps is here for you. I can attest to every single person on this webinar having an authentic and genuine heart and wanting the best. So we look forward to you joining us in the spring at NOVA and continuing on with the Marine Corps. Thank you again,
Thank
Supervisor
you,
Bailey.
Director Myrick. It's a pleasure and an honor to have all of you with me this evening to talk about this most important venture of education. And as a Marine Corps wife, I will always be a Marine Corps wife, supporting the Marines, but most of all, supporting my community. And so I thank you for your support. I thank you for allowing me to be a catalyst for this conversation this afternoon or this evening. And I bid you adieu and happy holidays to all of you.